Razabane for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. With me on the phone, all the way from Brooklyn, New York, I think, Mr. Paulie Malignaagi. What's going on, Paulie?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida right now, but still representing Brooklyn.
Well, originally from Brooklyn.
Yes. Well, I'm still back and forth in Brooklyn. I don't want to let people think that I gave up Brooklyn. I just come down to Fort Lauderdale during coronavirus because New York is just completely saturated with stuff right now.
Paulie, yeah, you just mentioned it's a hot topic right now in the world, but obviously I know what the UK situation is like. How are things in the States?
Bro, unfortunately, I think this is going to grow everywhere, and I don't know what the answer is, to tell you the truth. I mean, I'm not a political pundit myself, but my personal feeling is there's not going to be a right answer. And whatever decision is made by a political leader is going to be the wrong decision either way, because you can either shut everything down. You can shut everything down and then try to save people as much as you can. But number one, people are not all going to listen. I mean, you got people last week during spring break, you had the cops on Miami Beach. I'm down here in Florida, South Florida, Miami Beach, throwing kids off the beach. You know, the kids aren't listening. You know what I mean? They have you physical with them. Like, these little jerk-offs, like, they just run around out there when they should be quarantined and spreading it without even realizing it. You know, you can spread it to your mother. You can spread it to your grandparents. I myself am not worried if I catch it, but I'm worried about if I spread it to my mother, my grandparents. My father lives in Italy, so right now I'm not seeing him. But, you know, it's a situation where you have to kind of think about other people. You can't just think about yourself. Because, yeah, to tell you the truth, I think I'm healthy enough where if I catch it, I'm all right. But I don't want to catch it because I don't want to give it to anybody. You know, because maybe somebody I give it to is no good. Is not good enough to catch it and to deal with it. You know, so, you know, you kind of have to think about other people too. And this is just an egotistical, self-centered generation we live in, man, and people are just continuing not to listen. So if you quarantine everybody, you have this situation. Because right now you're trying to quarantine everybody and about 30% of the people don't listen, okay? If you say, okay, this isn't working, let's just open everything up, because else the economy is going to go down. And if the economy drops, then people are going to start killing themselves. They're going to start robbing people, stealing, killing people for money. You know, you're going to have house break-ins, home invasions. All kinds of crazy shit's going to start happening if you tank the economy more and more and more. So that's going to cause a problem. So you can send people back to work and make more people sick, or you can keep people from going to work and make more criminals out of people and cause more suicides. You're not going to have an answer, but unfortunately, those are your only two options. The last option is the vaccine, but I don't think that's going to come anytime soon, if ever. So I don't know. I mean, and of course, I'm not a political pundit, but that's the way I see those are the only options that are there, and none of them are right. So, you know, no matter which way you're going to go, there's going to be casualties.
Paul, in the UK, our Prime Minister announced that we're on a kind of a partial lockdown. Businesses are still running and operating, but last week the supermarkets went ballistic. People were just going out and just buying goods upon goods upon goods. Is that the same in America?
Yeah, bro. Toilet paper right now is like a gold bracelet. You know what I'm saying? Like you could trade that shit in for some really, really important stuff. You know? Hey, yo, hold on. I gotta take another call, Raza. We'll get back on this 1 second. I got to take this call again.
Okay.
Raza,
cool.
Okay, all right.
Paulie, just picking this back up, you were just talking about toilet paper and how it's gold dust.
Yeah, bro. Toilet paper is like, did you ever think like you'd be like scurrying for toilet paper? Can you imagine? It's where we're at over here, you know? Forget, I'm ready to sell my gold in exchange for like toilet paper in bulk. You know? That's what I'm trying to do, you know what I mean?
I read one of the fighters put an Instagram story out today, and he said, I thought in 2020 I was going to chase, I planned to chase paper, but I didn't realize it'd be toilet paper.
Yeah. Sad. Well, it makes you realize what's important, right? I mean, I'm not saying toilet paper per se is what the most important thing in life is, but what I'm saying is you start realizing the simplicity of life is taken for granted until something like this happens. It's pretty crazy. I had a lot of planes in 2022 as well. Now all I'm doing is chasing toilet paper and water, you know?
Paulie, we've got a similar problem in the UK, but why aren't people listening?
I don't know. First of all, I think it's a spoiled generation. It's also a misconception that young people can't die from it. And less young people do die from it. Young people do die from it. You know, I know some people that work as nurses and doctors that work in hospitals and whatnot. And you know, they were telling me that they've got a lot of young cases too. You know, a friend of mine told me that a 39-year-old, which is my age, just died at one of their hospitals. A 22-year-old just died at another hospital that somebody told me about. And of course, there's older people too. This morning I read on one of the boxing websites that Derek Jefferson, the former heavyweight contender, is on life support too. Which is crazy. I remember his fight with Maurice Harris about 20 years ago. It's crazy. There's a misconception. Listen, young people are probably not going to die from it. You're going to probably have less of a chance to die from it. But you've got to, this really exposes how much altruism you have, how much you care for other people, because if you don't listen to this, you're really just caring about looking out for yourself. And this is not one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to let this stop me from living. Like what we usually say, like terrorism, we're not going to let it stop us from living, or whatever else in this fucking world happens. We're not going to let it stop us from living. This is not one of those things. You're a jerk off if you go out and like just spread this shit. It's not about you. It's not about you anymore. It's about, who you're spreading it to, and other people getting sick too, these are parents, these are grandparents, these are, sisters, brothers, these are people's family, you know what I mean? And like I said, not all of them are older. Some obviously older people are more at risk. So do you want to put your parents at risk? Do you want to put your grandparents at risk? But also yourself at risk too. Sometimes the young people have a bad reaction to it as well. And what happens? That's a shitty way to die, man. Your lungs literally corrode. Like you're literally suffocate to death. That's a shitty way to die. All for what? To hang out on the beach?
Paulie, obviously the situation across the world is very bad, but one of the countries which is hit the worst is your nation in Italy. How's your family out there and friends?
They're quarantined right now pretty hard. It's not. Luckily, none of them are sick. Well, my father lived out there, so he's basically told me he feels like he's on house arrest. But he's inside. He's inside and he's trying to listen as best he can. He's not exactly young himself, so it's a difficult situation.
Do you actually think that this situation doesn't go away in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks? This is months.
Yeah, I think it's months, and then even if it slows down, I think it comes back. I really think it comes back. I don't think it's one of those things that just goes away. I think it comes back.
You're an active person yourself, though. What are you doing in terms of keeping yourself active?
Nothing. Hold on 1 second, Raza. Again, my bad. Just
picking this back up again. Yeah, you were saying about keeping yourself active. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm trying to do I've been looking at things online on Instagram to the people I follow there, do little exercise. I'm friends with Giuseppe Rossi. He's a footballer. He played at Fiorentina, Genoa. He played at Villarreal a little bit. He's Italian American, and I was looking at some of his workouts that he's doing at home. I was trying to copy them, trying to keep a little bit in shape. I see Chris Algieri's doing a little bit of cooking and giving some pointers and tips and recipes. I was looking at his smoothie that he was making this morning, and I'm trying to copy that. So just because I know Chris is always a big health freak as well. So I was looking at they're just friends of mine. I'm trying to see what they're doing and trying to basically follow along and trying to keep myself from blowing up while I'm sitting inside watching movies.
Probably the last time I saw you without a top on, you were dancing on the dance floor, and you had quite a lot of weight on.
Where?
In the UK.
Where was I dancing?
In the UK.
Oh man, yeah, well, must have been a bad night.
Paulie, let's talk a little bit about boxing. I know you've always spoken about drugs and drug cheats passionately in the sport, but did you see the WBC's announcement about their drug program and how they're suspending it through this period?
Yeah, I think it's all a crock of shit anyway. I don't even talk about it anymore. Nobody in boxing is actually trying to. It's the drug cheat testing in boxing is basically like a what is it called? It's an illusion, just to make it look like you're trying to do the right thing, but really you could care less, because nobody in boxing is actually doing the correct thing to fight that. So I don't even talk about it anymore. Even whether they suspended it or not, there was nothing much to suspend to begin with because it's not that active regardless. Even when it's active, it's not that active. So this is all just a crock of shit regardless for me, for all of that, So I don't even talk about drug cheats anymore. If guys fail, I don't blame them for even having done it anymore because there's no other way you're going to do it. You're going to risk your life if you're not cheating at this point because other guys are.
No, interesting. Paulie, but from a fighter perspective, where they only earn when they fight. How does a fighter now mentally keep himself intact, in good way, in good condition, not knowing when the sport's going to resume again?
Oh well, if he's passionate about what he's doing, this is where it proves to you if you're passionate about what you're doing. If you are passionate about what you do, then you'll still keep do your best to keep yourself in shape and keep yourself to a particular level of sharpness even throughout this situation. If you are not passionate about what you're doing and it was just about the money, then obviously you're not going to do much. But this is gonna kind of going to prove to you and prove to other people just how passionate you are about your boxing. Because when you're not getting paid for it, but you're going to have to eventually do it again. You're gonna have to keep in shape right now too. So how passionate are you? This is gonna prove it to other people, and you're gonna prove it to yourself too.
Eddie Hearn mentioned this week that if it gets to a stage where we can't have boxing, we can't have boxing and fill the arenas with fans, he may go and look at doing fights in studios with no fans. Do you think that's viable? Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, because if you get TV, you can still do it. I don't think that's a bad thing. You have to try to limit the amount of people in public places at this point, and it might be for a while. So I think it's a possibility to try to do that. I think Eddie's thinking outside the box, and it takes a little bit of work. But at the end of the day, the most money is made from TV anyway. So if you can get a TV contract that be honored nonetheless, even with no fans, it's the way it is. Listen, they were doing that with the football games at the end of before they completely banned everything. Juventus versus Inter is between first place and third place in Serie A. They were played in front of no fans. Guys like Lukaku, Cristiano Ronaldo, the biggest global star in the world, playing in front of no fans. So you can't tell me, you're bigger than that. Even if you're an athlete, you're going to want to do it. Obviously, for boxers, they're looking to get paid, so I think they'll do it regardless. But even for anything else in general, nobody can be too big for the moment because you cannot be too big for this situation right now. You have to kind of be a team player.
And Paulie, I know it was a few weeks ago, but I haven't obviously spoken to you since. Obviously, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fought. Were you surprised?
I was surprised at the way the fight played out. I wasn't surprised at the result. I picked Fury to win. I was surprised at the game plan. I was with the BT Sports team and Tyson's father when we did the preview, and Tyson's father was saying that Tyson would take it right to him, but I thought it was more gamesmanship. I got to be honest, I picked Tyson to win the fight, but I didn't see it actually being planned out and playing out that way. So that still surprised me.
A lot of people said that the first fight was very close. A lot of people gave it to Tyson Fury. They had the rematch. Tyson won it convincingly. Obviously, Deontay Wilder now needs to come over adversity for the first time in his career in the ring where he's now lost. Can he bounce back?
Yeah, I think guys can bounce back. I honestly, and this is just my particular opinion. I don't think it's right or wrong, but I wouldn't have gone right for the immediate rematch. I would have let Fury and Joshua fight it out first, and then I fought the winner. Which probably Fury was going to win that fight with Joshua too. I think. So and then you have a chance to fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Instead of just fighting for your old WBC title back. So it's kind of it puts it all on the line for you. But I don't know. There's also a piece of you that's very competitive. When you do this for a living, I understand that too, and you want to get back right away. But I do think it's a big adjustment to make, and I don't know that Deontay is going to be able to make that adjustment. But let's see. Because Tyson has had a problem with losing focus through long layoffs, and it seems like one of these long layoffs might be happening now.
We saw Anthony Joshua when he lost to Ruiz. He went back to the drawing board, brought in a couple of new trainers, and rejiggled his team around. Tyson Fury changed a little bit. He brought in obviously Sugar Hill and removed Ben Davis. Does Deontay Wilder do something similar? And we know there were clashes there between the two trainers with the towel.
To tell you the truth, I see Deontay's point. If he has had this conversation with his team and then the towel gets thrown in, yeah, I see the point because you've had this conversation specifically. If you've not had this conversation, okay, but if Deontay says he's had the conversation with his team specifically, then yes, I even do see the point. While I at the same time agree the fight should have been stopped, I do see Deontay's point in that he's giving you specific instructions that you never do that under any circumstances, and then you do that. Yeah, I see his point. But at the same time, I feel I'm one of those people that also feels the fight should have been stopped. Deontay was only going to take more of a beating, and the steam was out of his punches. He was too tired. There was no more steam on his punches, and so I don't think he was going to hurt Fury anymore. It was only going to catch a worse beating. So I agree with that stoppage. But at the same time, stylistically, I think Breland is the guy for Deontay. I really do. If you look at Breland when he fought, he was a lanky, tall guy for his weight. He knew how to set up the jab on the right hand. I mean, you're not going to teach Deontay to just throw combinations now. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have a jab and a right hand, and he's got to figure out how to set it better. He's got to figure out how to, judge his distance better with a guy who's taller than him now. He's going to figure out how to time it better. He's got a good idea of what he wants to do in all his fights. Just Fury's a different proposition. But, I see a lot of what Breland used to try to do during his heyday, So I do think even from a physical standpoint, they're similar type of build. They have a similar build for their respective weight classes that they had. Breland obviously was a welterweight, Deontay being heavyweight. And I can see how Breland and Deontay work well together because of Breland probably will teach Deontay to look for the same things, which you can see he does. That's what he does very well, is the jab in the right hand. Nonetheless, it's a personal matter. It's a personal decision, but I think they're fine. I think there's just adjustments to be made. You've got to keep your feet much better. When you're stepping back, you've got to have your footing much better. You got to have your footing in much better position. You got to be able to shoot that right hand on the step back. You got to be able to shoot that 1-2 off the step back really fast. You got to be able to catch Tyson coming with the 1-2 even without stepping back at times. You got to be able to feint them out of position. It's just things you got to do, because now I'll be honest with you. Now Fury showed, because no matter what you think of the first fight, Fury won the first fight. Now Fury showed you he can beat you going backwards and going forward. So you're going to have to make adjustments if he does either one, because, if you start troubling Fury in one way, he can just change it up on you the other way. He's shown he can have success on you going forward and backwards. So there are many adjustments to be made, but, that's for Deontay and his team to go back and do it.
Paulie, I saw an interview that you did. I think it was a podcast. I can't remember where it was that I saw a couple of weeks ago, where you talked about how there's too many yes men around Deontay Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
So elaborate a bit further on that.
Well, sometimes when you're a winner, and Deontay's obviously a winner, you have a lot of guys that want to be hangers on. They want to hang out with the champ. They want to be seen with the champ. They want to get the whatever crumbs come off the champ. They want to, and a lot of these guys end up just hanging around you too much, and what ends up happening is sometimes you get a big head, that not enough of them are real with you, because they realize that if they're too real with you, you might throw them out, because you yourself start to become that kind of person where you now don't want to hear anything negative about you, even if it's a constructive criticism. You might throw somebody out of your circle if they give you any of that. So suddenly everybody around you they're like dogs. You kind of domesticate them and train them to be a certain way, to just kiss your ass, to just be around you and not tell you the truth, to just tell you how great you are constantly, and always agree with you no matter what you say, no matter how utterly ridiculous it is. And I think that's, some of the things Deontay has said recently of late goes to show you that, maybe he had too many yes men around him, and maybe that's also part of the reason why, you stop improving sometimes, But again, that's something that he's got to go back and look at, sometimes you don't want to have haters in your team, but you also don't want to have guys who agree with everything you say no matter what, because there are times where you're not always right, whether you like it or not, and that's something that you obviously learn as you become older and you mature.
Paul, it's a fight that everyone was looking forward to coming up in May. It wasn't officially announced, but it was going to be announced. Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo. A lot of rumours actually are circling now that Canelo may just go into the Triple G third fight in September, October, etc. Do you feel for Billy if he misses out?
Yeah, I do feel for Billy, but Billy at the same time is around Canelo's age, so maybe the fight can be made later on. I think they just smoked Golovkin out, basically. They let him get old, and at this point now they're going to knock him out, and then make people forget about the fact that he probably got robbed in the first two fights, which I thought he did. But I do feel like at this point, with Golovkin being older, it's probably a Canelo knockout. But of course, with that drug program being suspended, not that I was ever that effective to begin with, but with that drug program being suspended, maybe, just maybe, everybody will be eating that good meat in between while they're off of the coronavirus quarantine.
Paulie, just finally, I know you've got a busy evening, so I appreciate you giving me 20 odd minutes of your time. But what would your advice be? Just coming back to our first point about the virus, and what would your advice be to the people, the masses that be listening?
I mean, I don't know, man. I just feel like the simple life is the best right now. It's funny because the media is always trying to trip up the president of the United States. Like the guy the other day. First he asked the president if you're giving people a false sense of security, too much of a false sense of security, and then he says no, people have to live their life or whatever. And then the next question he asks him is, what would you tell people to do? So basically, if he tells you to be positive, you're giving people a false sense of security. If he tells you to be negative, you're bringing the country down. These people are jerk-offs. Like, there's no right and wrong answer. Me personally, I think you got to stay home. Stay the fuck home. That's it. It's very simple. You have fucking Netflix, you have Amazon Prime, you have Hulu. I particularly have a lot of old DVDs that I don't even find on these fucking internet streams anymore. There's a show coming out next month. I can't tell you what network, but it's on one of the streaming services. I'm on it. I'm acting in it. It's an old-time 80s mafia series set in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. It's called Gravesend. So look out for that. I can't tell you where it's on yet, but it's on one of your streaming services. They're going to announce it soon. Check my Instagram post. One of my scenes is in there. It just got posted right now. So you got a lot to do, If you're shacked up with a chick, it's even better. You can have some sex. But, it's whatever, and if you're going out, stay away from your parents. Me personally, that's what I believe. Stay away from your older relatives if you are going out. If you're not going to listen, if you're going to be one of these jerk-offs that doesn't listen, stay away from your family that's older because you're only going to hurt them. And that's it. It's just a crazy thing. Some people show symptoms to the point where they die, and some people show no symptoms at all. So this is such a mystery that nobody really understands it. So I'm obviously not a medical expert. So the only thing you can do is play it safe as possible. Like, that's it. Just being alive at this point, you got to be happy. Being alive and healthy at this point, you got to be happy. Makes you really appreciate the simpler things. And that's what I believe, and that's what I'm trying to do as best I can. Yes, I understand it gets boring, but we're all in this together now. So let's all be team players.
Paulie, great words then. Hopefully people take that advice on board. Wish you nothing but safety wherever you are and health to you and your family. And always appreciate your time. We'll probably catch up in a couple of weeks when I'm bored again. I'll be like, Paulie, let's do another one.
I'm here bored too, so you hit me up.
Paulie Malignaagi for IFL TV. Thank you very much.